Good morning, class. By the name's TURYAHEBWA Robert, and I will be taking you through the course called International Law and the Law of International Organization. This course will be taught in a blended mode, whereby half of it will be online and another part will be in class. I want to give you the following guidelines. When you are at home, you are supposed to be in a quiet place where you have clear network, where you are in a quiet room so that you are able to follow. The course is taught for 100 hours, whereby 30 hours will be done by the lecturer, and then 40 hours will be engaged in practical work, and then we give also students 30 hours. We shall be having different tests, which we call quizzes, and then a small test, which covers 40, and all of it will cover 60 hours. The final exam will be either an open book exam or a closed book exam. In law, it is acceptable. Open book exam, what do we mean? You are supposed to use all the legal texts when you are doing exam. If it is a closed book exam, then you just come without any note. Under this course called International Law and the Law of International Organizations, we shall start with definition and nature of international law. International law is the law that governs the relationship between states. Where did this law come from? It was developed from Western world. If you want to know more about international law, you need to understand two schools of laws, positivism and naturalism. Naturalism, they believe that international law came by nature and it should be applied universally all over the whole world. Whereas positivism, they believe that international law is created by man, it is created by states. Therefore, you cannot enforce it to states. We shall have a second chapter which deals with the sources of international law. The sources of international law are the following. We have international custom, we have treaties, general principles, judicial decisions, opinions of distinguished writers, and other sources. We shall be having another chapter which is called International Law and Municipal Law. Under this chapter, we need to understand whether international law can be applied in national laws and vice versa. By municipal laws, we mean national laws, but lawyers, we use those legal maxims whereby we shall use municipal law instead of saying national laws. We shall deal with another chapter called Subjects of International Law. To tell you specifically, the subjects of international law are states. Those are the primary subjects of international law. But due to the challenges we have today, even individuals are becoming part of international law, as we shall see in the details. We have an important chapter called Territory and States. This is where international law is best, because international law governs the relationship between states. Therefore, a state is the main subject of international law. That's why we shall concentrate on it. So when the states were coming up, there was a condition that in order for a state to be called a state, it must be possessing the following: permanent population, a defined territory, government, and capacity to enter into relations with other states. After becoming a state, then a state must enjoy the following rights: independence, equality of states, peaceful coexistence. We shall deal with these in detail. Then after that, there is also another chapter called recognition of states. Under these factors, the argument will be, is it necessary for a state to be called a state to be first recognized by other states? Yes or not, we shall cover it when we are dealing with those topics. And then under recognition of states, we shall deal with whether once a state is recognized, can that recognition be withdrawn? As you will see, it can only be withdrawn under de facto recognition. But with the de jure recognition, withdrawal is not possible. Then we shall also have a chapter called extinction of a state. If a state is already a state, can it disappear from the world map? The answer is yes, it can happen if states merge together or if one state is dissolved. That's when extinction of a state can happen. We shall have an important chapter called the jurisdiction of states. Jurisdiction of states, it means the power of a state to enforce its laws within its territory, both under territorial jurisdiction or through the three arms of the government: legislature, executive, and judicial. So we shall also deal with civil jurisdiction and criminal jurisdiction. We shall have a chapter on extradition under international law, and you will find out that in the case of Rwanda, Rwanda does not extradite its nationals. And then we shall have a chapter on state succession. Here, you might be surprised. How can a state succeed another? It is also possible. When a state disappears, or if a state merges with another state, that one which dissolved into another state, that one will take over. That's what we call succession of states. Then we have state responsibility. State responsibility means under law that another state has committed an act against another state. And then that state is responsible to pay damages. We shall have international law and use of force. This is now the most topic which is interesting. We have example of Russia attacking Ukraine. So we shall go with the guidelines of UN Charter, whether use of force against another state is acceptable or not. And then we have an interesting chapter which is called immunities from jurisdiction. Remember, we had a chapter called jurisdiction of states, where we said that everything that is done, 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 that is. We understand how treaties are made, how treaties are enforced, and how treaties can be withdrawn, and how treaties can be terminated. Remember, treaties, it is an agreement between states. And we shall deal with the law of the sea, and lastly, we shall have a chapter on the law of international organizations. We shall have regional organizations and international organizations. And basically, we shall concentrate on the role of UN. UN is one of the important international organizations. When you are studying international law and the law of international organizations, the students should be able to understand how states deal with each other. The relationship between states is governed by international law. The students will be able to understand how international law works with national laws. The students will be able to understand how international politics is governed through international platform. For example, when you see the crisis in Ukraine, the current situation we are having in Congo, how regional states are intervening. At the end of this course, the students will be able to know how they can even give the legal advice regarding how states deal with each other. So this was the overview of the whole course that we shall be dealing with. I hope you will enjoy the course. Thank you very much.